Hello, this is Luke Nelson, City Manager for the City of Norwalk, Iowa. And today I just wanted to take a little time to talk about roundabouts. We had a few questions that came through social media and even some local businesses that had heard about this concept of a roundabout along North Avenue, actually two roundabouts. So I thought I'd take a little time and give it to you straight from the source, factual information on what has been discussed. Normally we do this as a podcast, but I thought it might be a good idea to do this and add some video because some of this is visual. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I'm going to start off with back in 2022, we did a presentation to City Council requesting funds to do a traffic study for an area along North Avenue, starting at Cherry Street, actually extending one block south on Cherry, and then all the way over to East 17th. So Foth Engineering was the firm that we utilized to do this study. And the results of that study were a series of recommendations. The first one involved two roundabouts, both at East 17th and Cherry Street, and then allowing that next South Avenue to remain as a standard intersection. And I'll just zoom in because we've had a few people ask about the home that we purchased and demolished. As you can tell from this, we needed a significant amount of easements, which would have eliminated that home even as far as this design is concerned. So we noticed that the house came up for sale. By the way, this project, Roundabouts, if this happens within the next 7 years, I would be surprised. A lot of it just depends on the amount of traffic we see, enrollment numbers at the high school. It even depends on what the school decides to do with this location. If they do more expansions here on their central campus, that may prompt this to move forward quicker. But for the most part, we're just planning well in advance of when improvements might be necessary. So in terms of timeline, could be 5, 7, maybe even 10 years down the road before these improvements would happen. However, our public works director had noticed this house on the corner came up for sale. So we put in an offer and they accepted. We were going to continue to utilize the home as a rental, but we realized the expenses of some of the improvements that would be required would really outweigh the benefits. So ultimately we chose to just demolish the home. So this is what the rough design looks like. And as you can tell, we might even still need some additional easement to that next house to the west because of the curve here. But this would be designed as such to make it so that semi-traffic could get east-west, although that's something we'll want to discuss further with our engineers. And then further east, this shows you what the design looks like at East 17th. This kind of presses the roundabout a little further west and southwest, which causes us to creep into more of the school property versus the other adjacent property. The school being the partner that would make the most sense because the improvements really benefit the school. So hopefully they'd be willing to work with us on that. So anyway, that's one concept, and this was as I mentioned, a dual roundabout. The next option was one roundabout at East 17th, just like the previous image you saw, but then at Cherry Street, the option would be a signalized intersection. In the United States, what still is more of a traditional intersection. So from there, they give us some cost estimates. For the dual roundabout, the estimate was about $8.9 million. And the traffic signal and roundabout option, a little bit more expensive at about $9 million. So the dual roundabout option, a couple things to point out here. Roundabouts tend to be a favorite for a number of reasons. First of all, they're safer. Do accidents happen at roundabouts? They do. certainly at less frequency. And this is all, there's empirical evidence to support these. Myself and some of our other staff have attended different training sessions that teach communities, organizations about roundabouts. And again, all the numbers for safety point in the positive. When there are accidents, they tend to be more of a rear end or a side swipe versus T-bone accidents, which are the most dangerous and have the highest fatality rate. So not having a T-bone yields less impact. So you tend to have side swipes or fender benders as opposed to severe accidents. One of the kids I was very impressed with the Boy Scouts when I did do that presentation. It's been a while ago. One of them said, well, what about the pedestrians? Well, one of the benefits about pedestrian, well, even for vehicles, on roundabouts, you tend to only have to look in one direction primarily. So as a vehicle, you're looking back to your left to see if there's a vehicle coming, as opposed to having to look right. Everybody to your right yields to you. So that's a big benefit for roundabouts. Same thing with pedestrians. As you're crossing, you're only crossing one lane at a time, and you only have to look in one direction. Depending on what section of the road, you might be looking left, or when you're getting across that first lane, getting to the second lane, you would be looking back to your right for oncoming. But at least you're not having to look both directions before you decide to jump across the street. So that's good for safety, less severe accidents. The other thing is maintenance. Just from our public works department, they've explained that anywhere we have roundabouts versus your standard signalized intersection, you have a lot less maintenance. It's not mechanical, other than maintaining a couple signs. The maintenance is minimal. Funny story, I had learned that the island of Aruba, at one point in time, they had nothing but traffic signals on that island, relatively small island, and they actually took action to eliminate all the traffic signals and convert everything to roundabouts. And the main reason being is they had a hard time, because they're on an island, they had to import both staff and equipment every time one of their traffic signals went down. And so they found traffic signals would back up people for days and days before they could do the repair. But the roundabouts enabled them to minimize their maintenance because they didn't need all those components. They didn't need the personnel present. Just kind of a neat thing that reinforces how maintenance is minimized. So those are really the basics. At this point, it's still an option. This is not in the budget. That 8 to 9 million, either option of either a single intersection, traffic signals, or dual roundabouts. Neither one of those are in the budget at this point in time. It's a pending project that we have. I think it's scheduled off at least 6 to 7 years out in the future, which isn't a guarantee it happens then. It's just we keep it on the radar that, hey, this is an improvement that we may need to accommodate in the future. So that's it. Those are the basics. You can always find out more information by emailing me, Luke Nelson. You could also email our Public Works Director, Wayne Schwartz. All of our email addresses, contact information is on our website. Thanks for listening and watching.